All right, what's going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to the Value TV show where we give you tools to build and have healthy relationships. That's right, tools to build and have healthy relationships. I am Jamel Jackson, your relationship mechanic, and I have my lovely co-host here, LaShunna.
What's up?
That was a dope intro.
How you doing?
Doing
I
good.
think it's the turtleneck. It just was giving you something.
Is
you
it
know?
the turtleneck?
Yeah, I think it's giving real I'm here.
I'm getting comfortable with the turtlenecks.
Yeah, that's good.
It's typically not what I do because it's like hugging my neck. It feels like it's prohibiting my glory from coming out.
That's what it is. You gotta let the glory just bust out.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's like that.
How you been?
I've been good. How have you been?
I've been good, man. I had an interesting weekend. I got to have a conversation with my daughter about relationships.
That should have been real interesting.
Yeah, man. She's transitioning.
Yeah.
She's 11 in middle school, 6. I'm not gonna put her business out there. One day I'll have her on the show so she could put her own business out there. But
yeah,
she's transitioning to liking and loving and catching goosebumps and crushes.
Oh.
So it's very different, but exciting at the same time. You know what I mean?
Of course.
She's growing into this soon-to-be teenager.
Yeah.
And I like it, you know what I mean? I never scold her. I'm just there to listen and also at the same time gain wisdom because she's teaching me some things.
Yeah.
I'll have her on the show one day. We can let her spill out on her beans.
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, so I did that, and I went bike riding yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, bike riding. That was exciting. Letting the wind blow through my hair. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just the little hair I have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's about it. And now we're here.
Yeah.
And we're gonna talk about trusting again. Trusting again. People that maybe they've had an experience, they were in a relationship, maybe they were married, maybe they were dating, maybe they were in a committed relationship, and now they're transitioning back into the world of dating and being married or doing whatever, but there's the trust issue.
Yeah, trust issues are big. I think that's a very interesting topic, sensitive topic, because a lot of people have trust issues these days.
Yeah, I run into a lot of women, you know. I run into men too, but more so women when I'm in the marketplace, you know, selling my products, pushing my book. And some women have had the desire to be married or be in committed relationships. And now that they're transitioning from maybe being hurt, their philosophy or their language now is, I'm not trying to be married. I don't want nothing to do with that. I don't want to be committed in a committed relationship. I'm just trying to be single for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. And so this trust.
Yeah.
And trust has to be rebuilt.
Yeah.
You know, once I can understand when you've been damaged and you've been broken by a relationship, it hinders your trust to trust again. Mm-hmm. And so transitioning from single to potentially going into another relationship and making yourself vulnerable again and being committed, that could be difficult.
Yeah, very.
From a woman's perspective, have you encountered that?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think for me, it wasn't just going through a relationship and having broken trust. It started with having broken trust as a child, right? And then going through a process of healing those childhood wounds, and then getting in a relationship and having some level of trust broken that didn't necessarily have to do with like cheating or anything like that. It reopened a wound, and I was that woman. Like, oh yeah, I'm good. Like, I'll be single. It's safe. I'm content with where I am, but at the same time, still having that inner desire and wanting to love and be loved, right? Because I think the difference between men and women is like men get hurt one time and it usually destroys the past. Women will get hurt and then we'll inch out there a little bit and try, and then something will happen and we feel like that validates us to say things like, yep, I'm done.
Hold on. You said men get hurt
once
and
it's like they carry that throughout, even when they're in relationships, because I think men can coexist in relationships without trust. So some people don't allow having trust issues to keep them out of relationships, but they get into a relationship with so many reserves still, with so many walls and so many guards up. So then that's why you don't see a level of transparency and vulnerability, because I can very well get into a relationship with trust issues and maybe have an okay relationship, but it comes a deeper point where you start to realize, wait, I don't trust this person. I enjoy their company. I love being around them. I think they're amazing. But when you start to dig into those sensitive areas of my life, not there.
No, but see, with that right there, that can wear on you mentally and emotionally. You can act like that doesn't bother you, especially if you're a man and say, "Oh, I don't need trust. I just could be intimate with this person, or just because they're in my quorum and I'm not alone, then I'm okay." But you need trust.
You needed to have a healthy, thriving relationship. However, when you've done it for so long, it becomes a level of comfort. As a woman, right? It's like, it's comfortable almost. And that's like, I tell my friends too, there's sometimes become a danger in staying single for so long. Because it almost becomes normal. You're desensitized to the fact of like, I shouldn't coexist in this like that, without these guards, without these inhibitions, right? But it's almost like there's a suspended level of consciousness, and you're like, this feels comfortable. At least if this person walks away from me, it won't hurt as bad. You know, it all, you know, it's like, it's dysfunctional, but sometimes we pick up dysfunctional habits and we don't even think about it until, again, it comes to that place where your man comes to you and says, why does this trigger you? And then you're like, what do you mean? It doesn't trigger me. And then he's like, why won't you, it could be something as simple as, why won't you lean on me for support? And it could very well be, I don't trust you to support me, because in previous relationships, when I needed my significant other the most, they weren't there for me. So it has almost become normal for me to coexist and have you here presently, because I enjoy that. But to go to that deeper level, totally different. Right? So sometimes it gets so normal to where it doesn't wear on your mind. You're just like, I mean, this is normal, and why do you have a problem with it?
But that will hinder the transition.
Yes, it will.
It will hinder the transition. And if we want healthy growth in relationships, it's going to require a level of trust. First of all, not even just trusting in the person you're with, but trusting in yourself. Trusting myself that I can be vulnerable with this person.
Absolutely.
Some of us don't trust ourselves.
Oh, some of us are not even vulnerable with ourselves.
Like trusting myself enough to be honest with myself.
Yes.
Like, you know what? This area of my life is painful. This area of my life makes me feel this way.
Yep.
This makes me feel that way. Have I sat with myself long enough to understand myself to say, you know what? When I am in a relationship again, this right here I will not tolerate, because I trust myself not to be involved with that again.
Yep.
Because that's the same thing that hindered my growth before, damaged me before, had me mentally depressed before, emotionally out of it before.
Yeah.
So now that I'm moving forward, transitioning from being single to being dating or to potentially being married, trust is one of the things I have to carry with me.
Yeah. So I think you bring up a very important point. When people have been hurt, they've been broken, and they're like, I want to trust again, but how? I don't know how to, right? And I think one of the first steps is what you said, learning to, first of all, sit with yourself and grieve all those past things and really deal with how those things made you feel, and identify how it has bled over probably in every area of your life, or even not just in romantic relationships, but platonic relationships, your relationships with your family. Like, the first step to being able to trust again is being honest and sitting with yourself and saying, I am LaShunna and I have trust issues. And being unapologetic about the way that you feel about it. Because sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves, like I should have this right, and why can't I trust again? And it's been 3 years, and it's like, what you're feeling is valid. It's okay that you have trust issues. Someone may have defied that trust. There have been experiences in your life that have brought you to this point, and that's okay. And sometimes you just gotta sit back and breathe in it and say, I had these issues and this is why, but I'm ready to transition and move forward because I know there's so many great things ahead, or there's that person that is there for me that can love me properly, you know? And I want to be able to invite that person into my space. So let me first sit with myself. So after a person sits with themselves, what would you say would be the next step in someone learning to trust again?
Another powerful tool after they're sitting with themselves is, where are they sitting? Because you're sitting somewhere, and that sitting somewhere would be an environment. You need a healthy environment that's conducive to your healing. Having a circle of healers. What do I mean by that? Having people around you that have voices that have healing tone. That won't look at you and say, look at you in pity, or even look at you to agree with you.
Yeah.
To say, oh yeah, I know what you're feeling, girl. Oh, I know what you're feeling, man. Yeah, that's just how it is. That's just how life is. No, that's not just how life is. We're not negating your emotions, or we're not negating how you feel, but a circle of healers who can encourage you, and they know how to speak wise words over you and into you. And your environment being conducive, a place where you can heal.
Yeah.
Maybe that is a place where you're alone, or maybe you don't have that type of environment, but you can create that environment. You may need to get out of the apartment you're in, out of the house you're in, you know, out of the space that you're in, and go to another healthy space. And when that environment is being created, I know we hear this a lot. Oh, get into the right environment, create the right environment, but be intentional about it, because it's gonna, while you're healing and while you're developing this new trust, it's gonna hurt, because it's like you're detoxing. You may have to scream. You may have to go to the park and run and yell and cry and ball up in the corner and weep in the shower, because you're rebuilding your mind, you're rebuilding your heart, you're rebuilding your emotions. The environment's going to matter. It has to be conducive to healing. And what you're listening to, what you're watching, what you're looking at, it's all going to be conducive to your healing progress. So even some people may have to literally shut down social media. Shut down certain music, because certain songs produce trust issues.
Right.
Certain things you watch, it may trigger something you're literally trying to heal from.
Right.
And you're like, and then it pushes you back. Oh man, because I watched that show, it had me thinking about when he or she broke my heart and damaged me, or when mom did this or dad did that. So now I'm back to the beginning stages of building my trust again. So one of the most powerful tools would be the environment, you know?
Yeah.
As you're transitioning. And one thing for sure, let me say this for somebody that's listening or watching, don't rush the process.
Yeah.
Because we may feel like, man, this is taking forever, and this detox, it's like anybody that's ever detoxed from any type of drug or any type of habit, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I've seen videos where people, you know, or even seen people personally going through a detox, and it's excruciating to them.
Yeah.
They've been fixed. They've had a fix on a certain type of drug or a certain type of habit, and now I gotta break it. I gotta be in this room shaking by myself, and I'm going. But when you come out on the other end, with the end game in mind, for somebody listening to watch, it's not going to be easy.
No, it's not.
But
and
worth it.
Understanding that trust grows. Like, you can prepare as much as you want, right? But there's some on-the-job training that has to happen. Like, you meet someone and you make the decision to say, I'm going to start off with an open mind, and I'm going to allow this to grow. And then some things you learn through actually doing it. So, like, because sometimes you can think, like, I've done the prep work, I've been in therapy, I have the right environment. And then you get into that relationship and you start talking about that stuff, and you want to retreat. You want to be like, nope, this is too much, I can't do it. But it's like making the decision every day to be like, no, I'm not going to go back to my old habits. I'm going to continue. And then being open with the person about the fact that, hey, I have trust issues. These are some things that are triggering to me, but these are some things that I need, right? Because that also takes a level of vulnerability to say, hey, sometimes I just need the affirmation of like, hey, I got you. You don't have to be afraid. Being honest about what you need, because sometimes we want people to just innately get it. I think there is a part of a relationship where people have to be intentional about being in tune, but then we have to communicate what we want and need. Hey, listen, I've been through a lot of things in my life. I'm not ready to share them all, but let me just tell you, I've been through some things. These are some triggers for me. If you notice me start to do this, this is what I need you to do. I need you to say, nope. We're not doing that. Come on. You can get through this. I got your back. I got you. And so that's important too.
I'm glad you said that, because the process and the environment allows you to prepare for that type of battle.
Yeah.
Because it is a battle.
Yeah.
It's a battle for you to be reconnected with the normalcy or the norm that you were accustomed to before being hurt.
Yeah.
And now you're transitioning into this, and it's like, okay, I sat alone in my environment. I did what they said. I practiced this, and I did the tools, and now I'm coming back out to the on-the-job training, as you should say, and I meet this guy or I meet this woman, and boom, it triggers the trust.
Yeah.
But since I went through the process, it prepared me for it. And if I had a circle of healers or a circle of wise voices giving me tools like, hey, man, if this happens, you might want to do this.
Yeah.
And like you said, being intentional with that conversation, but it takes you choosing.
It's a decision.
Healthy individuals who you're about to give your heart back to.
Yeah.
Because your heart has been damaged. And so for me to be intentional and say, hey, look, this is what hurt me. This is what damaged me in the past. If this occurs, can you please handle me this way?
Yeah. I need you to know how to handle me, because if you handle me the wrong way, it's going to try to give me validation to go back to my old habits.
Yeah.
So please, like, for the love of God, handle me this way.
And somebody may say, well, no, that person needs to wait until they're completely healed and completely whole. No, because
there's no such thing.
You're going to have to test to go out there and say, you know what, let me see if I'm prepared for this. And it may be a casual date, and maybe a trigger may occur, and you're able to acknowledge it and go, wow, I went out there, I went on this date, this happened, but I opened up to him or her, and I told them, and they dealt with me correctly. I can take another step.
Yeah.
It's just taking steps. It's not jumping completely in the water overnight after you done came out the process and you went to the meeting and you got the mentors, and now it's like, oh, I'm ready for full-fledged opening my heart wide open. No, it's pieces.
Yeah.
Opening up the door
and that's
slowly.
wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wise to only do like segments and pieces. But I think going back to what you said about, people will tell you like you need to be completely healed, completely whole. I don't ascribe to that, because I also believe that God will bring someone in your life who is equipped to handle you, and God will use that person as a tool and a resource to be able to help give you trust again in people, because sometimes we need to see it. And it's like, you don't go through all this stuff that's probably been years of different things adding on, and then it's like, I need to get completely whole, I need to be completely perfect. It's like, no, God's going to send you someone who's equipped to even be able to identify. And that's why it's also important not to, be too spiritual, but to have someone who's connected, because they can sense, they can see, and they can feel, and they can cover you, and they can know, no, I shouldn't right now in this moment, this is what they need. They can be a lot more intentional.
That's a good word that just popped out, that word cover. Somebody healthy, mature enough that can cover you, not expose you.
That's good. Let that breathe. Say it again.
Somebody that's healthy and mature enough that can cover you and not expose you. That when you come to me, if I'm a man and you come to me with your most vulnerable, intimate, naked pieces, that I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to listen with sincere ears, and then I'm going to say, in my mind, I'm thinking, how can I cover her?
Yes.
How can I cover her, not expose her?
Yes.
One, not expose her to herself and say, look at Because you already know what you brought to me. And then let alone expose you to everyone else. But I'm here to cover you. And as I cover you and compliment you, then that only builds you up.
Exactly.
Because think about it, and we got to understand, me even covering you as a man, I got to understand there's something that I need covered.
Yeah.
We're both under the cover. Yeah. I'm covering you, you covering me. Because I don't want to see your fire burn out.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see your desire burn out.
Yeah.
Because I know that there's a desire within you and there's fire within you and you've been hurt and you told it to me, so I got to cover you.
Yeah.
I want to cover you to protect you, because especially if I see you as somebody that I could potentially do life with.
Yeah.
And let me say that for men that are listening and watching, if you're in that position and you're meeting a woman who has been damaged or has been hurt, as a man, it's our duty, one, to cover you as a woman, and let alone if you're about to be my woman, I need to cover you. It's going to require some work. Because I can hear somebody say, man, I'm not trying to deal with all that, but it's going to require some work, some level of responsibility, some patience, where you may have to tap into a greater source, tap into God and say, God, look, I desire to have this woman. I love this woman. I care about this woman. Teach me how to handle her. Teach me how to cover her. Because you may not know how to do it.
Yes, give me a man.
I gotta get around, or I gotta get around, or I have to
teaching him,
or I have to get around other men and say, hey man, mature men, hey brother, this is what I'm dealing with. Have this woman in my life, or this is what's going on. I want to be able to cover her. Can you give me some examples of how I can cover her? Don't be afraid to seek out counsel.
Right.
You know, because I don't want women, and for women that are listening and watching, I want to say this again, don't let the fire burn out. The desire or the passion you may have had to be married or in a committed relationship, although you may have been hurt, don't let that desire and that fire burn out. I'm not saying go jump into a relationship after you go through your process of healing, but just don't let the fire burn out. Don't let the desire burn out, because God will plant somebody along your path that can minister, and when I say minister, I'm just using it as for lack of a better term, serve those broken pieces of your heart. And can rebuild that. And if that desire is there and that fire is still there, that's something that man could work with.
Yeah, and vice versa. I think men too, because sometimes men don't feel seen, men don't feel heard, because they've had a woman. It starts with their mother, you know, or they had a woman who's like, he may have opened up before, and then that woman exposed him, right? Or used his openness against him. And so now he feels like he doesn't feel safe with women. It's like, no, you can have a woman that you can feel safe with. But again, I think men also need to be more communicative about how they want to be seen, what makes them feel heard. Because as women, like, sometimes we are like, you might tell us something, we like, yeah, we just talking, and it's like, he's like, okay, she's not listening, but he won't tell her that. He'll be like, okay, I'm not talking to her again about that because she doesn't listen. And she doesn't even realize that she's not listening. I read something the other day. It was like this post in this group I'm in, and it said, give me a time where it was like one of the most intimate times in your relationship, but it had nothing to do with sex. And this man said he called his girl, and he was like hurting about something. And she said, I see you. And he said when he got off the phone, he completely broke down because he had never had a woman in his life to just say, I see you. You know, and that's just like, men don't always show women that they need that. So sometimes as women, we might take it for granted, like, okay, he's good. You know, he doesn't really need that affirmation from me, you know, because it's a difference between affirmation and validation. We shouldn't need validation from people, but affirmation is extremely healthy. And it's okay to say, I need that sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, and I think people have to realize that even with trust issues, it does not make you hard to love. Sometimes with our broken pieces, we feel like I'm too hard to love, but you're not too hard to love for that person that's carved out for you, that person who sees so much value in you that they're like, no, I'm going to walk this path and this journey out to you. And it's really scary to even just admit to somebody like, yo, I don't have it all together. I have broken pieces. I still have fears, you know, because let's be honest, we all have them.
Yeah.
You know, we all have them. But it's important you can test the person by letting them know, hey, I have some broken pieces, I have some fears, but I do want to take this journey. If that person feels like you're too hard to love, if that person feels like I don't want to deal with that, that's not the person for you. You just saved yourself 2 or 3 years. Because I'm not going to hide the broken pieces in me to try to save this relationship. I would rather us rip the Band-Aid off. Because sometimes we've been taught when you first meet a person, it's only certain things you need to be telling them. And it's like, I get it in the right context, but I think we should be more forthright in the beginning, and it will save us a lot of heartache on the back end. Because I don't want you to wake up 10 months from now and realize that I have had childhood trauma that I have worked through and I have healed from. But guess what? At any point in time, with the right trigger, that wound can be reopened. Or you don't realize that I have a hard time saying, hey, I need you right now. And you might be thinking, she just don't ever want to ask me. It's like, no, I've healed from my childhood trauma, but there's still some manifestations of that in my life, and I literally don't know how to. You know? Start trying people with those things, because sometimes we're afraid that if we really show it to people, they'll walk away. Especially if you dealt with disappointment, abandonment, and rejection. But at the end of the day, if I show you that and you can't handle it, I'm okay with that. At least I know. We need to walk our separate ways.
So if I show you my wound during this transition, can you tend to my wound and not irritate my wound?
Can you tend to it?
Because wounds you need to tend to it.
Yeah.
I don't want you here to irritate it and continue to irritate it. Then next thing you know, the scar reopens.
Yeah.
Can you tend to it?
Yeah.
Can you nurture it?
Yeah.
Man, this takes another level of emotional intelligence.
It does.
As we're stepping into this trusting again. Wow.
And as a woman,
Wow.
for me, I feel like I need to be attended to. For years, I've given and I've tended to people. But you know what? I'm at a point in my life where I want to be tended to, and there are places in me that need to be tended to. And that is perfectly okay. I'm not showing up like I have it all together. I'm not showing up like I don't have fears and inhibitions. I have them. But I want someone who says, it's okay for you to have those. I got you. I'm going to get you there. That's what I need.
Wow. There you have it, guys. The Value TV show where we give you tools to build and have healthy relationships. If you're single, you're dating, you're married, and you're searching for a place to get some tools to build and have healthy relationships, tune into the Value TV show. I'm Jamel Jackson, your relationship mechanic. I love you guys. Over and out. Peace.